The Flow Layout panel is a new control that allows you to dynamically add other controls to your forms without having to specify an absolute top and left position. With the Flow Layout panel, the controls are positioned relative to the other controls within the container. Combine that with the ability for the panel to be wrappable and scrollable, and you can add almost an infinite number of new controls to a form without having to worry about them not being visible. Now you might be wondering why you'd ever want to dynamically add controls to your forms at runtime instead of just adding them at design time using the designer surface. There's actually a couple of reasons. For example, you may want to allow users to add functionality to your application, but you don't want to share your source code. You can allow them to configure additional fields of information that will be stored in a database, for example. But you'll take care of the complexity of it. Your users won't have to be programmers in order to add custom fields to the application. The Flow Layout panel accommodates simple layout schemes. If you need more control over the controls that you plan on adding dynamically, you may want to use the Table Layout panel instead. This will allow you to create a series of table cells and allow you to position the new controls within specific cells of that. So to demonstrate how to use the Flow Layout panel, I created a sample application called Flow Layout Panel CS, and let's run the application just to demonstrate how it'll work. What we can do is dynamically add controls by giving it a name. So let's just call this button 1, and then we'll do this button 1 like this, and we'll click Add Button. So I'll do this a series of times, maybe 6 or 7 times. And as you can see, now that we've added enough buttons, that it's beginning to add off to the right-hand side of the screen. And so let's do this. Let's go ahead and change the flow direction from top down. Now you can see we can display more buttons. Instead of going for a horizontal view, we're going for a vertical view, but we still can't see all the buttons very well. Let's add just 1 or 2 more here so we can further demonstrate this. Now if we were to click the Wrap Contents checkbox, notice that we go from top down in our first column 1 through 4, but since button 5 can't fit within our Flow Layout panel, the contents wrap to another column. Let's go ahead and turn off Wrap Contents and turn on Auto Scroll. And notice now that we get a scroll bar off to the right-hand side that will allow us to view all of the controls that have been added within our Flow Layout panel. We can change the direction from left to right, and now we get a scroll bar at the very bottom, which allows us to scroll off to the right-hand side to view the rest of the controls. So as you'll see, this is a very simple example from a code perspective. Let's take a look at this Add Button event, and all we're doing here is just creating new buttons, setting the name and the text property of the new buttons, and then adding them to the controls collection of the Flow Layout panel. What we do next is we change the flow direction by setting the selected index changed of our flow direction combo box. So we use a switch statement to detect which of the particular flow direction enumerations are possible. So you can see we have a flow direction enumeration of bottom up, left to right, top down, and right to left. And so we simply set, based on the case, based on the text of our combo box, we set our flow direction property of our Flow Layout panel to the flow direction enumeration, bottom up, left to right, and so on. In order to enable the Wrap Contents, we merely change the check changed event of our checkbox, determining what the current state of it is, and then setting the Wrap Contents property appropriately for our Flow Layout panel. And the same would be true then for the Auto Scroll. Based on the checked property, we will set the Auto Scroll property appropriately for our Flow Layout panel. In summary, use the Flow Layout panel to enable the dynamic layout of new controls or areas of your form when you want to freely position controls in a horizontal or vertical position.